Hey guys, Justin here with CBI. Hope everybody's doing well today. We're just going to talk about this 2016 5th Gen 4Runner. We're going to be doing a high clearance rear bumper with dual swing arms, so stick around for the install. Okay, we're going to take a few minutes to talk about the details of what you're going to need to cut this rear bumper. It's not too bad. There's a lot of different dimensions, but just follow along step by step and you'll get the confidence you need to make these cuts. So on the beginning, we're using this line as a reference, as a factory body line. And for your first cut here, you're going to measure down 5 1/4 inches, and you can kind of check that measurement with this little clip right here in the inner fender holding on this mud flap. So you're going to be basically right at the top of that little clip. And as you come around, now kind of where this line makes a 90, basically 5 3/4 inches is going to be the bottom of your tape line. Coming around, you'll wrap your tape around. Now on the corner here, another measurement you can get is from this kind of step in the bumper, 1 1/8 up to the bottom of your tape line. So that'll continue coming around. And over here, it's kind of tough to see in this corner, but there's this kind of factory bump in the bumper, and your tape's just going to sit in the bump in that corner, and that line will maintain and come around. And when you get to the plastic here, there's another bump, so your tape's going to sit right in the corner of that bump, and that same line will come all the way around and connect in with this bump on the other side. And basically on the driver's side, it's going to be the exact same measurements as we did over here. Okay, so everything's cut. So now the next step is we're gonna pull out some clips and 10mm bolts to get this plastic to come down. So there's a couple clips up under here that hold this gray piece on. 10mm bolt here, and there's a few over here. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 that need to come out. And then around the wheel well, there's some that need to come out also. There's one 10mm bolt back here, one up high, and one here, and just these clips, and that should be all we need to get this down. Okay, so now that we got the plastic down, a couple things we need to do is remove the factory hitch. There's only 6 bolts holding this on. They're 17mm head, so we take those out, the hitch will come down. And then over here on the exhaust, you got a couple options. It needs to come out of the hanger in order for the bumper to come on, so you can either remove it from the hanger or cut it off, and we'll get to the reinstall later after the bumper. Okay, so we also need to remove this recovery point to get the bumper flush up against the bottom of the frame. So it's held on by just 2 17mm bolts, so we'll go ahead and take those out. Okay, so just a couple more things that we need to do in order to get the bumper on. There's these tabs here, a couple of options. You can either cut it off right here, or you can push it pretty hard and bend it in the up position, up out of the way. There's one on each side, so this is passenger. There's another one on the driver's side. There's also these 2 brackets right here that we need to remove, and they're each held on by 3 12mm bolts. There's going to be 2 on the upper side, and then there's going to be 1 underneath. And it's the same for both sides. 2 on the top, and there's going to be 1 underneath. All right, so just a quick tech tip is after you've kind of made all your cuts and you've done your test fitting and you know that you're done cutting, you've done all the sanding you need to do, it's a really good idea to, especially with this plastic surface, to take like a razor knife or a deburr tool and really go down every edge and just get as much of the material as you can off of the vehicle, because when you install your trim, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay, so once you lift your bumper in place, it will slide underneath the frame and it will stay there, but you want to push it towards the vehicle and then start these two bolts right here. Those are a 17mm head. They're the same factory bolts that you took out of your receiver hitch. Okay, so in your hardware kit, you should have a bunch of pieces of flat bar steel. These are kind of pre-made washers and spacers. So this longer one is actually going to be oriented like this, with the offset end facing outside of the vehicle, and it's going to sit in between the bumper and the frame. And this is going to give you adequate spacing to be able to open and close the lift gate and give you good spacing on your cuts. This washer here will go in front on the bottom side of the bumper, and two bolts will be installed here. And then on the rear, we have this other washer that will be installed here with two more bolts going through it. Okay, so we're getting everything prepped to go on the high clearance bumper. A good idea, since the bearings fit so tight in this, is we're taking a drill with just a sanding drum on here, and we're just kind of cleaning out any debris in here left over from powder coating or manufacturing, whatever the case may be. So you want to make sure that this is super clean in here, so that the bearings go in and fit right. Okay, so now that this is nice and clean, what we're going to do is install our bearings. And all three bearings are exactly the same, so it doesn't matter which ones go, top or bottom. But there is going to be two installed on the bottom and one installed on the top. And what we have here is just some anti-seize, and I'm just kind of painting this race just to keep any corrosion out and just kind of aid the bearings sliding into place. And we're going to kind of place it in there, and we'll tap it in. I just have a hammer here and a socket. So this will kind of, you just kind of want to go around tapping it evenly to make sure that it doesn't bind up going into place. Alright, on your top one, just make sure you hit it deep enough to where the dust cap has room to go on top to keep anything out, elements, corrosion, anything like that. Looks like about close to a 1/4 inch lip, maybe not quite, but that's about how deep it's going to be seated. Okay, just like we did with the race, on this spindle you want to make sure everything's clean of debris. So if you have some Scotch-Brite, steel wool, emery cloth, anything like that will work. We don't have any major stuff on here, so I basically just kind of have an adhesive remover, and I'm just going through. Next step, we'll coat this with the anti-seize, and we'll get that swing arm pounded on here. Okay, so with the swing arms on this 5th Gen 4Runner, we had to relocate the license plate outside of the swing arms, and we have to mount a new light. So the light mounts in right here. There's 2 screws that hold it in place with nuts on the back side. Let me show you real quick how we wired this up. So the wiring comes through here. I have it kind of taped and zip tied. The white wire is actually going to be the ground. The black wire is going to be your power. You want a nice wire loom or kind of mesh protectant for the wire, but it comes through these holes here, and then we have it zip tied holding it here, and then it goes behind this mount right here, and then we have it zip tied again in 2 places down here to keep this tight. Now you want to have a little bit of a loop right here just to allow movement for the swing arm, and we have no interference also from the lift gate opening and closing, so that's a good thing. Okay, so our wiring dives through between the body and the bumper, and we've kind of routed around right here. Now this is our trailer plug wiring harness, and there's our ground right here. This is the white wire that goes to our license plate light, and I just kind of ground the paint off right here and ran a self-tapping screw for a good ground, and then kind of gave it some paint on top so we don't have any rust or corrosion issues. And the power wire actually terminates in here, so it terminates to this green wire, and this is the running lights for your trailer. But anytime your headlights are on, or running lights, or parking lights for that matter, you'll have your license plate light. So we just have a butt connector with a heat shrink connected right there, and everything's nice and protected with this sleeve. Okay, so to allow room for this high clearance bumper, we had to move the exhaust down a little bit. And you remember earlier we went ahead and made that cut so that we could slide the bumper in place. So I just welded in about 1.5 inch piece of round stock and just kind of gave it a coat of paint. My welding skills aren't the best, so excuse me there, but if you don't have access to a welder, another option is you may be able to clamp it, or just take it to a quick muffler shop and they can get you a new hanger. But that's kind of how you want to re-secure your tailpipe.